Hi, in our third year at Perdaily, we've decided to make a video component of this site so people can see in a more real-time basis what's going on uh, in the Los Angeles Unified School District and elsewhere in public education. If at some point you feel like you have a story to tell, we encourage you to get in touch with us. Today, I'm talking with Mark Hemphill, a retired teacher. Mark, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, to summarize it quickly, I'm a 30-year veteran of teaching, and 20 of those years, the last 20, were spent with the Los Angeles Unified School District, for the most part teaching special education.
Okay, and in terms of what has been going on most recently with budget cuts and the bad economy, can you talk about the LAUSD policy regarding reduction of forces? And most specifically, how it applies to administrators and teachers.
Well, there have been two budget cuts, the one that's impending at the moment, but the first budget cut was actually in 2009, and thousands of teachers lost their jobs. Some of them were given the option of becoming priority substitute teachers, and a few of them took advantage of that. For the most part, they didn't. A good share of those teachers never returned to the classroom at all. They are now former teachers. The reduction in force is about to visit us again soon, depending on how much money is available in the budget. There haven't been any firm announcements, but as of last month, March, letters went out informing people that they would not be returning to the classroom unless the money changed.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you noticed that in the reduction in forces, whether seniority is being respected?
On paper, it may look like seniority is being respected, but in reality, it isn't. During the 2009 reduction in force, teachers were under the impression that if they were a 9 or 10-year veteran, they were safe, that they wouldn't be subject to it. However, they saw themselves being subjected to it, while some of their peers with far fewer years, 6 or less, were held on by the administrations at the schools that they worked at. So in reality, no, seniority hasn't been respected in regard to any of these RIFs.
What filters have you found? For example, we've heard stories that if you're at the top of the salary scale, you're more likely to be riffed. If you are about to vest in lifetime health benefits under the rule of 80, or if you're just a teacher that doesn't go along with the culture, meaning the culture of doing whatever the principal says no matter what. Have you had any experience in seeing what the filter is that determines who is reduced?
Well, you've brought up three major points. What we're saying here is that if you are at the top of the pay scale, for about half of your salary, it's possible to bring in 2 teachers. If you're close to vesting your lifetime benefits in retirement, that means that the district's going to be continuing to handle one of the most, one of the greatest of their expenses where you're concerned, and that is covering your benefits.
Yeah, we've been told that presently the district has approximately $13 billion worth of unfunded lifetime health benefits, and that they have been specifically targeting teachers about to vest under the rule of 80. And what the rule of 80 is, for people who are not aware, is that since 1992, you would vest in lifetime health benefits if your age and your years of service equals 80. So people are contacting us as little as 100 days away from vesting and saying they're having charges brought against them. The charges have absolutely no bearing on any reality or anything that they have done wrong.
And in relationship to that, Lenny, prior to this last year, specifically spelling out that rule of 80 that you're talking about, that didn't appear in documents. You had to go dig for that to find that. Now, of course, it's apparent on the retirement forms and other forms that the district is producing. But up until then, you usually didn't find out about that until you were closing in, and quite a few teachers retired prior to qualifying under that rule of 80, only to find out that no, once you've bailed out, you cannot go back in, regardless of how uninformed you were.
Okay, now in terms of who is being targeted, we correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of teachers that have much less seniority are being kept based on what? Their relationship with the principal, or the fact that they are quasi-administrators, or how is that being handled?
Well, let's look at it. in respect to what actually takes place. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those teachers who not only supports the principal, you volunteer for every project, whether or not it accomplishes anything. You sign up for every committee, whether or not it really meets. You're on the way to trying to become a semi or a quasi-administrator in the form of a literacy coach or a math coach. Any of those things which show that you're on board with the district, you're probably going to have a far greater likelihood of surviving this rift pattern, regardless of whether or not those around you have far more years.
Now, go in for a minute, this idea of being on board with the district. Does this mean that you're supporting positive programs that the district is behind? Or does it mean that you just support the district no matter what?
Not only does what you just said apply, but it comes down to you're behind it. You're not just in support of it, you're participating within it.
Okay.
And you're not raising any questions.
Okay. I remember once at Venice High School I applied for a position, and the position, it seemed that they were filling it every year. It required the teacher to be a traveling teacher who taught 3 English classes and 2 social studies classes, never in the same classroom. And the regular teachers at the school filled this position every year because it was a burnout. Because anybody doing this was given the most problematic students at the school coming from Mark Twain Middle School. And they would last for about a year and then they would wind up filling it. When my friend applied for this position, he had more seniority than the people who were filling it, and was not seriously considered because the people filling the position were kind of looking for a teacher on whom they could dump students. Have you seen things comparable to this in the district?
Not only that, but let's just assume for a moment that the position wasn't one of those in which you would fatigue out within a year. Let's just say it was a standard position. If you enter with that amount of seniority, it's not just a matter of where you are on the pay scale or how close you are to getting your lifetime benefits. It's a matter of you're messing up the totem pole. You're moving up that ladder. You're going to actually be above those people who would be hiring you in line of status. So no, they don't want you. You're messing up the ball game.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you spending the time, Mark. And for those of you out there, if you have a comment about what you've heard today, or if you have a comment about a situation that you think is not designed within LAUSD to fulfill what LAUSD says in its rhetoric of wanting a great school system, if you find that the practices diverge from what they're saying their purpose is, please contact us at perdaily.com or contact me personally at Lenny, Lenny, at perdaily.com. Look forward to seeing you on our next show.